There's been a wave of events over the last few days that honestly, I don't even think the average person has begun to process yet. And I don't say that lightly. We've covered a lot of this on the channel here, from government overreach, censorship, food crises, digital IDs, the list goes on, right? But what we're seeing unfold right now, this feels a little bit different. This feels quite coordinated, and the timing is almost too perfect. So let me take you through all of it one step at a time, because if you view each story separately, you'll miss the bigger picture here. When these things happen at the same time, that's when you should really pay attention, because I believe real change is accelerating. So let's begin with the big one here. Elon Musk, the world's richest man, has just re-entered the White House as a guest of honor at a black tie state dinner, which was hosted by President Trump. And this is really interesting because after months of feuding publicly, trading insults online, calling each other names, all the drama, well, suddenly they're smiling, they're shaking hands, they're posing for photos, and they seem to be best friends all over again. And when I saw this, combined with the news I just read, which we'll talk about in a moment, I genuinely thought, wow, this is going to be big. Because remember, these two were at each other's throats just a few months ago. The media were very excited, to say that the relationship was finished and it's all over. They said Musk was going third party, and he also said the same thing. I think he's probably come to his senses now and realized that wasn't going to happen, but they basically said Trump and Elon would never work together again. All the usual stuff from the media. And the left was ecstatic about all of this. But actually, behind the scenes, something else was kind of happening here. So let me show you this. According to several insiders, and you can verify this now with multiple reports, the reconciliation actually started around September when they both attended the memorial service for Charlie Kirk. They spoke quite briefly, but then afterwards they met again privately. Trump was telling people by October that he really liked Elon again, and they were good friends all over again. And sure enough, here we are today. But it's what really happened beneath the surface that's kind of interesting here, because Elon isn't just shaking hands and eating a steak. He's now pumping enormous amounts of money into Republican super PACs, and I mean enormous amounts of money. Now, on the 27th of June alone, he donated $15 million in one single go. $5 million was to MAGA Inc., $5 million to the Senate Leadership Fund, and another $5 million to the Congressional Leadership Fund. So this actually made him the single largest donor to both the House and Senate Republican PACs for the entire first half of the year. And this was all in one single day. And this is just the start, because people forget that in 2024, Musk spent nearly $280 million supporting Trump and the Republicans. That made him the biggest individual political donor in America by a mile. And he's not slowing down. If anything, he's now expanding. But here's a real key to this. Musk isn't just giving money. Money's important, of course, but it's nothing compared to what he can actually do, because he has incredible influence. He's bringing Silicon Valley level digital tech and operations. He's bringing all the algorithms. He's bringing the infrastructure of X with over 500 million users. And this is something that the Republicans have never really had before. And it's something that the Democrats have always relied upon. So that alone is kind of seismic as we head into 2026. But as big as that is, it wasn't even the most shocking event of the week, because we know now that President Trump has just signed a bill forcing the US Department of Justice to release the unclassified Epstein files within 30 days. Yes, finally, I know, we're all excited, we're getting the files. The files that the media pretended weren't important in any way, and then they kind of said they were important. And I mean, these are the files that supposedly are protecting some of the most important, some of the biggest names in the world. I mean, definitely in America as well. So this is all coming out, and I, for one, cannot wait to read these files. I suspect there will be some big names in there. And let me pause for a moment here and ask you, who do you think will be in there? Drop a comment below, because I would like to read that. And quick announcement, this Monday through Friday is the biggest sale of the year, the Black Friday sale, where you can get some of my most impactful, these are very expensive programs normally, for a fraction of the cost. So look out for that beginning on Monday. There will be limited coupons per day. And get this, the House actually passed this bill 427 to 1. And that almost never happened. And I'm kind of wondering who the one was, right? Who was the one that went against it? We shouldn't look too much into that person, should we? The Senate also passed it unanimously, and that also almost never happens. This had near universal support. Why? That's the question. Because every single one of these people knew that the public was fed up with the cover-ups. And they knew if they voted no, they would look guilty themselves. Well, I mean, except the one who voted no, which is still unbelievable. Now, yes, there will be some redactions, I'm sure, probably victim identities, classified intel, anything tied to active investigations, which is fair enough. But even with those redactions, a huge amount of information is going to come out that has been buried for a long, long time. And I think some of it will be damaging. Of course it will. In fact, we've already had one huge resignation, which has come as a shock to a lot of people, and that was Larry Summers. I mean, he's even resigned from the OpenAI board. He served as the president of Harvard from 2001 to 2006, and much more. Attorney General Pam Bondi has already confirmed an internal review has actually started as well. The DOJ, interestingly, refuses to comment on whether they might try to withhold anything, which tells you everything you need to know. They are scrambling. But let's move on to the next huge story here, because it's almost too unbelievable to be real. And this is a sitting Democrat congresswoman, and she's just been indicted by a federal grand jury. And no, this isn't some sort of paperwork misdemeanor. No, she's accused of stealing $5 million in FEMA overpayments and funneling a substantial portion of that money directly into her own congressional campaign. You honestly cannot make this stuff up. How she thought she'd get away with that, I don't know. Maybe she thought she was protected at the time, but there's a new sheriff in town. And I don't think that this is going to be the only one. I think it's the first of many. Now, according to prosecutors, the family company received this huge amount of money during sort of COVID staffing contracts. And instead of returning the money, she and her co-defendant allegedly laundered it, moved it around, and then pumped it into her campaign when she first ran for Congress in 2021. She actually loaned her campaign $3.7 million. Later, she repaid $2 million of that loan, although the repayment, they're saying, came directly from the FEMA money. But either way, if she's convicted, she faces up to 53 years in prison. This is a sitting member of Congress. These things used to be unthinkable before, and now they're happening regularly. Also, you might remember this, she was already under investigation by House Ethics Watchdog since 2023, and she's facing a primary challenge from a 26-year-old teacher who has built his entire campaign around exposing corruption. Again, you cannot make this stuff up, so he's going to now beat her by a huge margin. But I really feel like people know something is wrong. They really do. They know something is wrong. And I want to show you the bigger picture here, because this isn't really about Elon Musk. This isn't about Larry Summers or this one congresswoman. It isn't even about Epstein. It's about something a lot deeper, because for decades the political establishment has operated behind closed doors. Think of all the deals that were done quietly, all the files that were sealed away, all the networks that were protected, and anyone who tried to expose it was smeared as a conspiracy theorist or they disappeared. But now you've got this new structure that's really shaking things up. And the trust in the institution is wavering. You got to think this all has happened within the span of a few days. That is very rare to occur. But it tells me something bigger is happening, and it's that the systems of control are really changing. And once these dominoes start to fall, a lot more will follow. People are waking up. People woke up, really, shall we say. They're asking questions. People are no longer buying the narratives that used to work so easily. And that parasitical political class who held power so long and abused their positions, they don't really know how to handle what's going on. So the next 30 days, especially with the files being released, will be historic. I think we're going to see some shock names come out, if they're not redacted, of course, but I think we're going to see some real shock names coming out. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I do read them, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on what comes next. The Black Friday sale will begin on Monday, so get ready for that. And apart from that, take care, God bless, see you next time.